Hey everyone, welcome to Gen 80 Talks with myself, Hatz, and my wonderful co-host, Anahi.
Hi, thank you. In this podcast, we're going to be tackling different topics that have to do with life, success, failures, and everything in between. We're going to be talking about relationships, love, family, careers, etc., and all the challenges that we face in this life that we're living. So stay tuned, subscribe, and join the conversation.
Yeah, so sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Gen 80 Talks. And today we are doing episode 2.
That's 4.
Okay, so it's true. 2 or 2.
Exactly.
Which we have actually done how many times? 13 and a half?
We've done it 3 times because we've had technical difficulties, but that's technology for you. What can we do?
Roll with the punches, I guess. That's kind of what we have to do, right? Last time we discussed worthiness, what is worthiness, how worthiness codes us in all our relationships, and how do we kind of like grow through it. And today we want to talk a little bit about something that kept popping by, which is validation, seeking validation, the labels that we start to create around validation when we're growing up, and how do we move from seeking that external validation all the time to actually self-validating, so that you can come to a place of worthiness where no matter what the other person or the other individual thinks about you or says about you, you feel whole and happy and content.
Validation, labels, and discomfort.
And one of the ways we started talking about this was because you said about when you are a coach and you're trying to empower your coachee to do something, to do the best and to show up and to get the better results. And you said you have to validate their actions. And I always told you that I don't like the idea of validation like that, because it makes us junky and always seeking someone else's to tell me that I'm worthy of praise.
But it has to be done. It has to be done in a balanced way, right? Because if you get too used to it, then you become needy. You need it, and if you don't get it, then it becomes something that's difficult for you. You're always going to be seeking it, right?
The thing is that this comes from when you are growing up, right? So if you are growing up in a home where you get a lot of positive praise, you become dependent on that. So especially when we have in condition of mom, dad, my teacher is going to tell me that I'm good, that I'm a good boy or I'm a good girl, that I'm good enough because I did X, Y, Z, then I'm always seeking a third party to tell me that I'm worthy of love, connection, and belonging. I'm never really coming to a loop where I say, oh, I failed, it's okay, it doesn't matter, I'm still worthy, you know? So that's the issue with validation, is that we are hardwired for belonging, and belonging can be very connected with validation, so we start to become junkies of it. And that can be very, very triggering, especially when you start to enter in the relational world of romantic partnership, and you begin to see that you become needy, right? And then on the other spectrum, when all the praise that you got was negative, then the moment validation comes, it feels weird, and you're like, I don't like that, move it away from me. So to me, as a mom, one of the biggest things that I have worked on is allowing the boys to tell me how they feel about whatever they do or they accomplish. And I just mirror that, so that they're not getting the praise or the good boy from me. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. It's about them feeling that they did their best and that they are self-sufficient in their in their need for acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, for example, Matthew did I was telling you that they were painting with acrylics in this little canvas, and the thing looks like Corona. Like, seriously, it's really real. It's not ugly, it's not beautiful, it's real. It's real. And he comes and he's like, hey, do you like it? And I was like, do you like it? Like, so I'm trying to enable them to say, wait, but what do I feel about this? What do I feel about this behavior? What do I feel about this accomplishment? What do I feel about myself? And this way, what I do is that I will equip him to be able to then don't seek later on for a teacher or a boss or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whomever to tell him, yes, you're good enough. It's just about saying, you did your best. Are you proud? Are you happy? Are you content?
And we were talking about how we should engage that person in that journey, right? So it's not just about giving them feedback and then moving on and just forgetting about it and then giving them feedback. No, it's more about, how did you feel about that? How do you think it went? or what would you have possibly done differently? Or, you engage them, you treat them as a human being.
Yes.
Obviously, you're not going to start talking to them
because
about...
they are human beings?
Well, I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, like, you're not going to talk to them as if they're like a 45-year-old. You're going to talk to them as if they're a 5-year-old. But at the same time, you try and get down to their level and you try and engage in conversation.
Yeah.
So they feel as if they're part of something.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's always one way, that was good, that was bad, that was good, that was bad. At some point,
or even worse, when it's you. You did amazing, you did shit. Because that's what happens a lot of the time, is that in the conversation we have with our children, we don't even name the behavior anymore, we name the child.
Yeah.
So I can be like, you are such a good boy when. So I'm saying, your value, because validation comes from value, right? Your value is to the top if you perform this way. And so as children, we begin to hustle for self-worth. We begin to get really, really panicky. Oh my God, mom is not seeing me, mom or dad is not seeing me. And then what happens later is that we enter the relational world in romantic partnership and we are constantly being triggered, So at the beginning of the honeymoon phase, we're all lovey, dingy, but when that starts to wear off, because we're no longer basically bathed in hormones and we start to feel normal and we're busy with life and stuff, we start to doubt our partner's interest for us. And then we create stories, because that's the other thing. If in my mind, my value depends on my partner or the person that loves me, the person that I love, telling me constantly that I am worthy, or on the other spectrum, never realizing what I do, because if they know, they will tell me that I suck at it, right? Depending on the coding that I got as a child. Then in relationships, I'm going to do the same. So the ones that grew up with the gold star, we are going to be very needy and we're going to be very good. Look, I baked you a cake. Look, I did this for you. Look, can you see me? Can you see me? And for those that got the negative praise, is the other side, which is when you start to say, don't tell me I'm good. Like, don't come too close with validating me or with giving me a label, because then I'm getting very close to you realizing that I suck. Because that's what I always got from love, So it's this balancing where I believe that obviously for parents or coaches or teachers doing this work with children, is that you have to give them the tools for them to understand that all the value that they need, all the acknowledgement that they need is within themselves first, and then the rest of the world follows. But for us grown-ups that already have this wound, that already have these beliefs around our value and our worthiness, is to show up and be, I can fail and I'm still valuable and I'm still worthy.
I should probably turn that on.
You should have most likely,
Yeah.
Perhaps it would have been a really good idea.
So how many stars do I lose?
13 and a half.
From my chart.
Your chart. Yes, that's one of, the two things that are really popular in parenting that I hate with layers of passion. One is reward charts, which I hate because it just triggers memories of my childhood. And the second one is the elf on the shelf. Have you heard of that?
The elf on the shelf.
So on Christmas, it's very popular, this little elf, and parents move it and they use the elf to say like, the elf is one of Santa's...
elves.
Yeah.
Little helpers.
Little helpers, yeah. And he's looking at you. So he's checking out your behavior and will tell Santa whether you are good or not. I find that, first of all, creepy as fuck. And second, so manipulative. Like, no. In fact, I tell my kids, fuck Santa, I buy you the presents, so you better make mommy happy 365 days in the year, so she buys you presents.
Yeah, but there's an element of, I don't know, fantasy and imagination, no?
You're lying to your child. You are literally lying to your child, telling them that adult that you're moving around is basically doing surveillance.
I've never heard of this before.
Oh my God, it's super popular. You guys, comment here if you have or have used the elf on the shelf, or if you're traumatized by it like I am. To begin with, I don't believe in Santa. Like my sons don't believe in Santa because Santa is a more Americanized construct. In Venezuela, we don't have Santa, we have baby Jesus. So everything, for me, Christmas is about the birth of Christ.
Yeah, Christmas is about turkey for me.
Well, as a Muslim, that makes sense.
It's a time of giving. It's a time of being with family and eating turkey. Yeah, definitely. But no, I see what you mean. And but honestly, I think it's not so straightforward. I think, especially when it comes to parenting, it's one of those things. Or if you're responsible for children, let's say,
yes.
Not just parenting. because obviously I was in a position where I was responsible for kids, and parents had entrusted their kids' development in my hands, because I was obviously looking after them during their coaching sessions, and it's very difficult because again, kids, different kids will react differently to different methods.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of finding that balance that works for that person, right? It's about reading people, being able to read people. It is about understanding that everybody's got buttons, right? I believe everybody's got buttons, whether you're a 5-year-old or whether you're a 50-year-old, right? And it's just a matter of being able, not tiptoeing around the buttons, but it's about getting them to feel that they're, again, part of something. Yeah. So I always had different, during my coaching sessions, for example, I'd get kids to come and coach with me, for example. I'd get them to come and coach with me during a session. Some of those kids might have been having a hard session. They were not able to carry out the training for whatever reason. They had a bad day. And it's not about, oh, you had a bad day, but you need to get on with it. Hurry up, this is it's disruptive, blah, blah, blah. No, but I'm still making them feel that they are still being considered, even though they're having a bad day, And they get out, they spend about 10, 15 minutes with me, and then they want to get back in again. And I didn't do anything, it's all come from them, but I just didn't make them feel as if they were, not a waste of space, but they were being annoying or disruptive, you know.
Plus, you're giving them space to process.
Even though you were being disruptive, let me just add,
Mr. John Doe.
No, yeah, exactly, Mr. Master John Doe. Anyway, but the point is,
but you're also giving them time to process, and I think that's another thing that is really important. Is that for kids and for adults, as we begin to see these concepts, which are really complicated, there's a lot of talk about self-worth and worthiness and self-esteem and self-love and self-care and all of that happening around. But there are concepts that we have still to unpack a lot of emotionality around, right? And when we start to do that, and we start to see the labels that our parents gave us, right? Good girl if, bad boy because, or whatever they pass on to us, right? We need to allow ourselves the time and the space to process, to unpack this and go through that discomfort. So for example, for that child, when you took him aside and said, okay, you stay with me for a little bit, that space was perhaps what their undeveloped brain, because remember, children have underdeveloped brain until a certain point, right? For them to process and to be so go from shame or guilt towards, it's okay, I'm part of this collective, they are not casting me away. Because remember, you're engaging different parts of your brain, right?
Yeah.
And then they can be reintegrated, not feeling like they let anyone down, they are the black sheeps, or that they are whatever. They are okay, so if coach, because also any figure of authority for a child knows best. That's one of the things that we always tell our kids, right? So if my coach is telling me that I deserve to be here, if my coach is telling me that I'm good, if my coach is telling me that whatever, that I can take space emotionally, then I can and I will. And it is this space that you gave them, or the space that as a parent I can give my child when I go, when they fail or something, we're doing with Matthew, we're doing side words. And when he doesn't do a lot of the side words fast, it's a space, sometimes he cries and I'm it's okay. It's okay to be frustrated. What you're feeling right now is your brain growing. That's what's happening. Every time that you get frustrated, your brain is kind of doing all the hard work to get you to the next level. And then he cries and he calm himself, and I'm there just supporting him, just being the vessel, right? And then on the other side, he integrates, sometimes I struggle, and when I struggle, there is a loving space for me to struggle in and go back to normal.
And you know what it is, right? And again, I think a lot of us, we don't really, because I know we're talking about validation, we're saying that was good, that was bad, but it's all about setting yourself, and I do this with the kids that I was coaching and the swimmers that I was coaching, is that we all understand that we have a goal, and that's your target point, right? Now we're not going to get there in a straight line. We're going to have our ups and downs. We're going to have good days and bad days, and on the good days you're going to validate that was a good day. On the bad days you're going to say it was a bad day, but that's okay, sort of thing, and that's one of the things that I think I missed out on was having discussions on where I want to be going, what I wanted and where I wanted to be going, what maybe my parents thought were the best things for me based on their thoughts, and then working through it together, rather than it being, okay, you have to get A stars or A's in everything you do, and if you don't get it, then that's not good enough, you know? Which in a way there is that tactic, which is that maybe reverse psychology tactic, which is if you expect the best of somebody, that eventually that person will reach that point. I don't know, there was a talk I saw about, it was on a TEDx talk, which was something to do with the 10,000 hours
Mastery.
rule. Mastery. So
that has been proven wrong.
It has been proven wrong. I'll tell you why. Because one of the
many
examples
times.
was Roger Federer, for example. So you have Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods became, at the age of 21, the best golfer in the world. And that was after 10,000 hours of mastery. But Roger Federer only started becoming good at tennis when he was older. And when he was younger, he was doing rugby, football, swimming, tennis, squash. He wasn't a tennis player until he was about 13, 14, something like that, right? And so because he gained so many different skills in so many other things and put those things together, he then became great, you know? So it's just one of those things where validation is important, but it's something that shouldn't become that you're dependent on. And then when you do fail, it's about how you manage that failure and understand that it's part of the journey, and it will shape you to be the person that you want to be at the end, or reach that goal.
Or maybe not, but the reality is this: if you start to see yourself more as a loving child, because we are all deep down children, right? And we start to see all those labels that our parents pass on to us, and we start to witness all these things that wounded us and that affected us, right? And we see them for what they were. They are just part of our journey. And we don't try to BS positive psychology. There's something positive, because there might not be anything positive for some of the shit that we go through, but you just accept it and you go like, okay, so, and you recognize yourself. So self-awareness is really important here. So for example, I know I grew up with a lot of gold stars, you know, you need to get good marks, good girl type of mentality. So I know that in relationships, whether those are friendships or romantic partnerships, I have a tendency to be needy. I want my gold stars. But instead of saying, well, this is who I am and everyone has to love me that way because that's how God made me, I go, okay, so this is something that I learn. Can I put myself in the discomfort of withdrawing from that external validation and seeking instead myself to validate myself? Can I shift my mindset so that when I am in my moment where I want the most for the world to tell me that I'm worthy, just to stay in and be like, you're worthy, it's okay. You're worthy. And it is so uncomfortable because you're challenging the mindset that has kept you surviving all your life. But if you keep doing that enough, what's going to happen is that tomorrow you're going to submit a project for work and it might not take, your boss might not go, oh my God, wow, this is what we needed. But go like, you know, you need to check this. And instead of falling to pieces, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, because it's about a project. It's not about me. You know, it's when we differentiate between things that are integrated into us and things that become us, that we internalize in a way that it is who I am. Especially right now, where so many businesses are shifting, where so many people are questioning their careers moving forward once the whole global health situation passes, right? It is a great time for us to bring awareness of where am I going next, because the reality is that the world is changing and maybe your career might not be needed in this new world that we're entering to. Instead of you saying,
if you had to have a different career, if you weren't what you are now, like for example, if I wasn't an engineer, I'd probably be
a swimming coach
or a teacher.
Okay, I will be a doctor.
Or I could be a doctor.
I would be a filmmaker, a doctor, or a scholar.
And that's the thing, and that goes back to Roger Federer, because he was not just like, I'm going to be an engineer. Like,
is he an engineer?
I mean, same thing. He's like, I'm not going to be a tennis. I'm going to be, no, he said, I'm going to explore. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to gain skills from so many different things. And I'm going to apply that to anything that I do. So for example, in the workplace.
Is that real, or is that your take on him?
No, that's what actually happened. So he did his tennis, he did this, he did team sports, he did individual sports, and he collectively took it and he shaped himself to be this amazing person, right? Athlete, professional, etc. And so I actually, through all the coaching and through all the sports that I did, I've learned so many different things that I brought into my professional life.
Yeah.
But I've also been like hung up on like these bits of praise, like, that was great, you did a good job, blah, blah. And then when you don't get that for like 1, 2, 3 years, it just becomes a bit demoralizing. Like,
But that's
nobody's
where-
recognizing my efforts in the workplace.
But that's when you need to shift totally and be like, okay, can I give myself this? How am I going to give myself the validation that I need right now?
Yeah.
And be very committed to it, because the reality is that at the end of the day, it is you in your journey and in your path. And the more you take control of your sense of self, the more you take control of how you process this experience that we are having in the world, the more you're going to actually be able to shift it towards what you want. And unfortunately, on that high note,
Yeah, I think we'll just quickly wrap it up because
yes, we're going to wrap it up, Buttercup, and we're going to see you on episode 3. Remember to like, subscribe, share, tag,
just even comment. I mean, if you have any thoughts, questions, ideas about any of these kind of topics that you want to talk about, or that you talk about, and
Yes.
we can maybe engage with, that would be great, because it's all about sharing and discussing. And I hope you had a cup of tea or a cup of coffee with you in your hand, because that's what it's all about, right?
But also it's also about you coming into this journey with us. So if you are going through something that is heavy and you want to talk about it with us, or if you want to get our insight, we are here to serve you. So please make sure that you send us messages, comment, like, and do all the magical things so we can keep on doing this for you.
Thank you, and we look forward to you joining us on episode 3
Of Gen 80 Talks. My tongue keeps getting twisted.
Gen 80 Talks.
With Hatz and I.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.